I swear I don't know who the
A
father
golden beam
is.
of sunlight illuminated the early morning streets of Godricshall. At this hour, the only people awake were farmers, couriers, and Nathan Hayfield. Nathan had spent only one day in Godricshall, but he wanted to take the last morning he had there to run the streets. He bounded from the street up a ladder, and from the ladder up onto a rooftop. He rushed along the tops of buildings, leaping from one to the other. A sentry shouted stern words to him from a tower, but Nathan paid them no mind. He wanted to test his physical prowess, and something about this type of running felt familiar. Though his body hurt and ached as he ran, his soul felt at ease. Whatever morning training regimen I employed in my former life, it was most certainly leagues more difficult than this. He dodged a flock of ravens and leapt onto a hanging laundry line. He stepped delicately across, careful to avoid dislodging anyone's drying tunics, skirts, or tabards. After he reached another building, he grabbed onto a window sill and climbed down, skittering along the wall like a spider. When he stood up, he found himself facing a lad about his own age. It was Stewart Lightstone. "Hail, and well met, Master Hayfield. I trust I am not interrupting your active morning." Nathan breathed heavily. He shook his head. Though his soul was far from exhausted, his 12-year-old body was now slick as an eel. Stewart laughed and passed him a water skin. "Here, drink up. I wish to have conference with thee." Nathan accepted the offered drink and eagerly emptied it. Stewart laughed. Nathan smiled as well. "I must thank thee again for thy intervention yesterday." Stewart took the empty water skin back and placed it in his pack. "Think nothing of it. I am still learning the ways of politics. Alas, it turns out, standing up to enemies peacefully is much more difficult than slicing them down with a sword." The two trainees walked through the streets. As they passed by storefronts and homes, the city woke up around them. People started taking in their laundry. Shopkeepers unshuttered their windows. Laborers began to resume their toil, and all of Godricshall slowly returned to life. "I hear you are leaving Godricshall to return to Dunshire?" "Aye. Mystic Blades has nothing left for me." Stewart fixed Nathan with a curious gaze. "Is that so?" Nathan nodded. "Aye. I was rather hoping you would stay." Nathan's eyebrows raised in surprise. He didn't expect this entreaty from Stewart Lightstone. Throughout the original Nathan Hayfield's memories, he had only exchanged the briefest of pleasantries with Stewart, and even then, it was hardly anything to take note of. Stewart laughed. "Look you not so surprised. I just have a sense that things will be more interesting with you around, and besides, seeing you handle a blade, that was incredible. I would relish a sparring partner who can handle himself like that." "I thank you, Stewart, but I'm afraid the Academy and the city is too much in the thrall of the Ravens. I have defied them, and there will be more consequences." Stewart nodded knowingly. Nathan chuckled. "I think you may be the only one who wishes me to remain." Stewart laughed. "Do not be so certain. Not everyone was happy to live under the thumb of bullies like Jason Clay and Cedric Raven. You may find that some are telling tales of what you have accomplished here, tales of heroism." Nathan shook his head. "I need no tales. I need to defend my family, and I cannot do that here." Stewart nodded. They both paused before the dormitories of Mystic Blades. "I understand. Well, I will not keep you. I will hasten to add, amongst your new admirers is my father, the High Lord Lucius Lightstone. If ever the Hayfields need allies, the Lightstones are now and evermore your friends." Stewart offered up his arm. Nathan took it. Stewart smiled. "We will see each other again, my friend." Nathan returned the gaze. "I doubt it not." They met that day as little more than strangers, but when Stewart Lightstone and Nathan Hayfield parted, they parted as friends. Amelia Hayfield rode around the countryside across the perimeter of Dunshire. Over the last few days, she had been consumed with worry. News traveled slowly in Godric's land, and ever since Nathan had returned to the academy, she was convinced that something horrible had befallen him. "I failed to save him the first time, and I'm not there for him now." Rumors traveled quickly, however, and there was whispering that Nathan had defeated Jason Clay with the help of the Lightstone family. It was a positive chance of hope, but Amelia dared not trust in it, lest her heart be broken all over again. Her horse galloped over the green rolling hills. The breeze tossed her flowing hair. Her father, an old soldier, used to criticize the young Amelia's penchant for horse riding, but her mother always encouraged it. So after Priscilla Hayfield passed, Sir Ulrich changed his tune. Now they had the occasional horse race between the two of them, though they rarely had time for it, since House Hayfield had fallen on hard times. Amelia pulled her horse to a stop and looked over the vast distance. The hills stretching before her turned into farmland, which in turn went on for miles, interrupted by the odd homestead or river. At the very edge of her eyesight, she could barely see Godricshall, a dot in the distance, a day's ride to catch up to her eyes' furthest reaches. She sat astride her horse, observing the vast expanse of Godric's land, the fiefdom that she had called home her whole life. This was one of her favorite hills. From up here, she could watch individual farmers tilling their fields. She could see travelers moving through the land from miles away. She could see animals darting in and out of the chunks of forest remaining on the countryside. And yet, one sight of all of these broke her reverie. She gasped and clicked her tongue, urging her steed forward. She galloped down the hill and cried out with joy. "Nathan!" Tears of happiness streamed from her eyes, and she rode up to face two young men astride their horses. Nathan grinned upon seeing his sister. "Good morrow, fair sister. You have met Baylor Graham." Baylor averted his eyes shyly. Amelia nodded, charmed. "Aye, we have met. How fare you, Baylor?" Baylor muttered an affirmation, something obligatory, like, "well," but neither Nathan nor Amelia could discern it, so they rode on, politely disregarding Baylor's shyness. The trio approached Dunshire with ease, talking all the way there. Nathan filled Amelia in on the events of the last few days, including his dramatic defeat of Jason Clay, Stewart's unlikely intervention, and the headmaster's attempt to retaliate. They came to a crossroads where they stopped. Baylor's family home was in one direction, Nathan's was in another. Baylor turned to Nathan and coughed. Nathan whispered to his sister, "Would you mind giving us a moment?" Amelia nodded, understanding. She and her horse sidled out of earshot. Baylor cleared his throat. "Thank you, Nathan. You saved my life. I am forever indebted to you." Nathan shook his head. "Think nothing of it, my friend. 'Tis what boon companions do. If this conflict goes on longer, I reckon you will save my life plenty of times as well." "You have always been a good friend to me. Thank you." Nathan smiled, but inside, he felt his heart breaking for the young lad. "I haven't always been a good friend to you. I replaced your old friend." But they embraced each other all the same, and Baylor parted. Nathan galloped up to his sister, and together they resumed the ride into Dunshire. Nathan and Amelia encountered many friendly faces on their way to the Hayfield family home. Farmers, delivery persons, families moving home. they all greeted Nathan with joy.
"Master Hayfield, how now?"
"You survived an encounter with the Clays. Well done, lad."
"I hear the Lightstones are our allies now. How'd ye manage that?"
Nathan felt his ears redden at the influx of attention. Back at the academy, his actions were regarded mostly with derision, horror, and frustration. But here, he was being given a hero's welcome, when all he had done so far was save his friend from a bully.
"And more than likely doomed us all to a conflict that will cost more lives."
"My son!" Sir Ulrich heartily embraced Nathan when the boy re-entered the house. After Nathan squirmed in protest, the knight withdrew.
"Not a scratch on you."
"How was the ride in?"
"We needed to dodge Hilda Moonweaver's buns, but we made it here unscathed."
A raspy voice sounded from a corner of the house.
"Now, young lad, you're too young to be commenting on women's buns."
Amelia groaned and rolled her eyes.
"Old Billy."
Old Billy Hayfield stood in the corner, smoking from a long-stemmed pipe. The Hayfield family steward went by Old Billy, Uncle Billy, or sometimes just Billy. He had been married several times, and was the fountain of endless laughter and gossip. Ever since Amelia and Nathan had known him, his hair had been white as snow, but he had a spring in his step that surely would accompany him to the grave. Nathan opened up his pack.
"It took me longer than I hoped to return, because I wanted to make sure I brought something pleasant for you all to remember Godricshall."
He produced from his bag some sweet buns, carefully wrapped in paper. Amelia gasped.
"My favorite. Nathan, you did not need to get me these."
She took a bite of one and closed her eyes in sheer bliss. Nathan handed his father a tube. So Ulrich opened up the tube and produced a long map of Calandria, showing the entire country, spanning from Mount Cal in the west, past Harold's Land in the north, Howell's Land in the south, Schuyler Land in the east, and of course, Godric's Land in the center of it all. Nathan's young host had never left Calandria, but he hoped to one day. The more time he spent in this world, the more fascinated he was to see all it had to offer. Sir Ulrich patted his son on the head in gratitude. His old maps had become frayed and moth-eaten, so the new one was a welcome addition. Nathan then produced a flute he had found for old Billy. The steward leaped for joy.
"You remembered. I finally get to play the flute."
He barely paused for breath before attempting to play. The initial notes were so awful that the rest of the Hayfields begged old Billy to stop. The white-haired Hayfield laughed and alternated puffing at his pipe and blowing smoke through the holes of the flute to questionable musical effect. Throughout the rest of the evening, the Hayfields received guests, retold the tales of Nathan's heroism, and enjoyed each other's company. They joked and laughed. They even tried to sing folk songs to drown out the intermittent caterwauling coming from old Billy's new flute. During all this, Nathan marveled at the warm feeling in his chest. Unlike the power of Asura, it wasn't something of which his soul had prior knowledge. All of a sudden, he realized what this strange emotion was.
This is home.
But that thought was cut by a sharp edge of melancholy.
This is Nathan's home. I'm a stranger here. I stole this from him and brought his family further into conflict with those who will try to destroy this forever.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.